Before we actually go to this is the school that Mrs. T went to, and it's got this absolutely fantastic display of Polish history. This will do your head in. There we go, 966, there's Poland. 1025, Poland again. 1138. 1295, seems to have shrunk. 1320, shrunk and moved. 1370, expanded. 1427, bigger. 1466, someone's taken a few nibbles out of that, haven't they? 1525, change again. 1569, glorious. 1619, whoops. 1667, someone's taken a chunk out again. 1683, more or less the same. 1772. 1793, it's shrunk in the wash. 1795, it's disappeared completely. Until 1809 when it comes back. 1830, shrinks. 1914, it's gone again. 1921, back again. 1945 and 1989 where it's changed slightly, and that's in its current form now. This is what is rather grandiosely known as our local travel interchange. And you can F right off because it's 1 in the bloody morning and we're on our way to Poland. And the journey starts here. So this is the little town we're staying in. Now in English I can't possibly pronounce that, so I'll have to ask Mrs. T.
Pronounced Przasnysz.
Przasnysz, there we go. It is it's a quirky little town, this. Dates back to about 1300 or something, isn't that right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's quite an important little market town in the area. There's not a lot left of the original old buildings. Largely on account of it being when the Germans invaded in 1939, the Russians invaded a couple of weeks later, and they met up roughly here. And then the Germans kicked the Russians out, and the Russians came back and kicked the Germans out. Which pretty much meant there wasn't a lot left of it by 1945. That is one of the original buildings though, there's only I think 3 of these left. We'll have a look at one in a little bit more depth. So, whilst it's a very old town, it's actually a surprisingly new town as well. So the town's now largely dominated by these sort of post-war communist blocks of flats. Let's face it, much of this place would have been destroyed, much of Poland was destroyed. Enormous amounts of Warsaw, and 95% of it was destroyed. And if you want to house a lot of people very quickly, you chuck up flats. They're a hell of a lot nicer inside. They really are very, very modern. There's a lot of money coming into Poland in the last few years. A lot of money. And right, in case anybody shouts at me and gets pissed off, I'm going to stop recording this now. So this is one of the other original buildings. This is an old mill, and just behind this is a cemetery, which I think is quite old as well. That wall looks quite old to me.
It is old.
It is old. And quite big as well. And this is the back of that mill building. There's another one of those funny little wooden houses just there. Another one there. Another little one there. There's another block of flats behind it. I'm actually going to have a closer look at this one. So that's the back of this little wooden house. I think there's only 4 of these buildings remaining, but these were the original houses. I think the missus's great granny lived in it for a while, and amazingly enough, it was actually occupied up until a couple of years ago. Family actually rented it. So it's not exactly big. I'm not going to poke the camera in through there because there's some of their stuff in there. And this shed here was actually the original toilet. It was in the same style as that, the building, but so they've demolished it and put a proper shed by the looks of it, and I think there's a toilet inside now. Another one of these blocks of flats. And this building, this is quite remarkable. It's a dental surgery. It was built about 15 years ago. The dentist went bust, and it's just been there ever since. I can't get the story behind it. Unfortunately, the missus doesn't entirely know everything about it. But yeah, imagine that, building like that. It's just left empty, and it's not been windows smashed, nothing. So this is a very pretty town square. A little memorial there, the anniversary of the town. It's really quite a sweet little water feature. And it's surrounded by lots and lots of shops. Unfortunately, the shops I used to like have gone now. They've been swept away inevitably. There was a mad little Chinese one that used to sell all sorts of stuff. But a fantastic one that the first time we went in sold fishing gear and pots and pans and car stereos. In the museum. And this is the square from the other side. These are a big feature in Poland. Notices get put on them, all sorts of different things. This one's mostly politicians. It's overcast, stormy, threatening. Makes it ideal to go and have a look at some Polish war memorials. Memorial to Home Army and Polish resistance. These people who were shot in 1942. The Home Army is a hell of a subject to look into. Very, very, very brave men and women. This one for the people who died between 1918 and 1920 in the battles with Russia for the formation of Poland. This is the Society of Polish Teachers, and this is a memorial to the Polish teachers who were murdered between 1939 and 1945. The German idea behind the occupation of Poland was basically that Poles would be able to write their names and that would be it. Obviously teachers didn't really figure in those plans, so they were killed. At the end of the Second World War, when Russia had sort of invaded and stayed till it was 1992, they were pretty harsh on the Poles, and this guy was tried as a traitor in Moscow. I'm not entirely sure what happened to him, but it was the fate of quite a few, particularly the resistance, the Home Guard, Home Army, I do apologise, very, very brave men and women, but they were seen as traitors by Stalin. An awful lot of them were shot. This is for people who were basically imprisoned under the Stalin regime. Not many of them would have survived either. And another fairly forgotten part of the Second World War was the murder by the Russians of 5,000 Polish soldiers in 1940 in Kachin. The Germans actually dug it up in the, I think, 43 and tried blaming the Russians. But the Russians blamed the Germans and everybody believed the Russians because they were on our side at the time. Yeah, 5,000 Polish officers and soldiers. This is a very sobering memorial. This first row is just for people who were shot close by because they're Polish really. Polish resistance. Second row, there was a concentration camp fairly close to here, one of the very small ones. Still managed to claim a brutal number of people. All these guys.
So this is our people who were hung by German in this town in Przasnysz, and a town not far from here, about 20 miles away from here, from Ciechanów. So you've got the names and the dates on there, and the ages of the people and their nicknames, who they were, and that's all happened on the 17th of December 1942.
So after all that, let's have a look at a nice, pretty sunset. There we go. That's really nice, isn't it? What you can't see, unfortunately, the swallows flying about. Well, the camera isn't picking them up anyway, but there's a lot of them, and there were bats last night, and that's really good, I think. Now, let's go and have a look at a little bit of Polish quirkiness. Polish calendar. As you can see, it's Wtorek, the 17th of Czerwiec 2025, and it's also the name days for Danny, Bogmilia, Alberta and Laurie. Name days were sort of extra little birthday when people get chocolate flowers. This is the place we're staying. It's Mrs T's mum and dad's summer house. They inherited this little piece of land, dental surgery that side, wooden shack over here. This is the land the wooden shack sits on. Would have been allotments and gardens at one stage. So they decided to build this little place. Father-in-law sort of gave up in the end, couldn't be bothered with it anymore. So they got this sort of one-bedroom little summer house in the grounds, the shadows rather, of these rather horrible flats. They actually live in one of these flats and a block just around the corner. I don't know why they don't move in here really. They quite like it in their flat. I'm inside in the kitchen bit. 2 sinks. This one's for washing up, as you would normally do. After that, you rinse off all the soap suds in this other sink. Mother-in-law's face when I did it the sort of British way of just washing up in there, sticking it on that rack was a sight to behold. That's it for the first part of my sort of video of our holiday in Przasnysz. We will be doing more things later in the week, and I'll hopefully video some of those and show you. We are going to Warsaw for a day as well. So there's more to come, I hope.